Okay, today we're going to begin our introduction of InDesign. So I guess the first question we should talk about is what is InDesign? Photoshop and Illustrator are, for the most part, um, used to create graphics. What InDesign is how you kind of bring those graphics and your text together and put it into some sort of layout. This can be used to create PDFs, it can be used to create brochures, books, flyers, business cards, letterhead. And the reason you want to use this instead of like Illustrator is it just has a lot more tools to kind of handle more specifically type and layout. And we'll go through some of those, but for this class, you guys will want to use InDesign, and I'm going to show you some of the benefits to doing so. So first of all, let's look at some organizational stuff. So I just created a demo folder here, and what I have is a folder for this demonstration, and I would save the file here. I have a folder where I keep my images and a folder for my fonts. The reason I'm doing this is that images, when you use InDesign, it doesn't actually keep the images that you use in the project file like it does in Photoshop. It's more similar to something like After Effects or Premiere, where the InDesign file only acts as a kind of a blueprint. So anything you use in your layout, graphics, Illustrator files, Photoshop files, that kind of stuff you're going to want to include separately. So I have a folder here with my images that I'm going to be using. Now for fonts, fonts are only specific to the computer they're installed in. So if you're using a font, that doesn't mean that your client has it or your boss has it. So just to be safe, I would include those as well. Especially for this class, I would just always include it because I get a lot of different projects with a lot of different fonts. So that being said, that kind of gets our organization set up. So now let's go into settings. So I'm just going to go to File, Edit, Preferences, and let's just start at General. So the first thing we want to look at, let's go to Type. First thing I want you to make sure that you have checked is use typographer's quotes. Typically in something like Microsoft Word, when you use quotation marks, they look like two little vertical strokes, which is in type is only used for inches. Typographer quotes, any font has these, and the quotes kind of are more curved, and they look like, and we commonly call them 6s and 9s. So just by having this checked, it means that you'll always by default use those. That is just going to be the expectation when you're out there working, is to always use typographer's quotes. So just have it clicked, and you don't really have to worry about it anymore. Now let's go down to, let's just double check here, make sure everything else looks pretty good. Let's go to units. I don't know why I have it set to pixels, but I usually have it set to inches, which is the most common. You could also have them set to points, as in most of your type is always distinguished in points, like it's an 8-point font, 9-point font. I just typically have it to inches. Doesn't really matter, whatever you're comfortable with. And aside from that, everything else looks good. So we'll move down to display performance. This is the kind of important one. I always have, excuse me, it's set to high quality. Reason being is that you want it to you want the screen to represent what it's going to look like printed out as closely as possible. So I would set it to high quality. If your computer is struggling with this, knock it down if you have to. I would also set Greek type to 0. If you zoom way out in InDesign, it sometimes replaces your type with gray bars, and this is just, I think, to conserve, your computer's memory. But I think it's always best to have it, look like it's going to look like printed out on your screen. So I would just set it to 0 so it always shows your type, and that is good for there. So now we'll take a look at the different workspaces here. So if you go to Window and Workspace, you have some options, and this changes just your panels and whatnot. But for the purposes of this class, I would go with, and this is the one I tend to go to anyways, which is typography, which is specifically for setting type and layout. So that'll be good. You can always customize these as you want to. As you work with it more, you'll kind of find something that's most comfortable for you. The last thing I want to look at is you see layers here, which you're familiar with working with Photoshop and Illustrator. The thing that's unique to InDesign is pages, right? So as you can see, I have nothing here. The benefit to using pages is it kind of creates a template. So like, let's say I'm designing a 5x7 postcard. So I would go to master page. Let's actually go to new. I haven't started a new document yet. And let's say I want it to be let's go to custom, and let's change it to 5x7. I got some options there. And gutter is fine. Facing pages is like if you're making a book. You know, and I'll just show you what that looks like. So I'm hit OK, and you can see it started a new master page for me, and you can see that it creates two because I said facing pages. So if I drag this down here, it'll create some new pages. So let's go in and go to Edit. Where are you? Document Setup. And let's turn off facing pages. I'm hit OK. So now I got to change this. Master options, number of pages, 1. So now, if let's say I have a bit of information that needs to go on, you know, each page, right? So let's just write something up here. So since I'm clicked on my master page, anytime I create something new, I mean like a new page, what'd I do here? Oops, and I did it wrong. So I'm going to grab this off of page 1 and I want to put it on my master page. You got to double click on it to make sure you have it selected. So now any reference to that master page, you know, that word text will appear, and I can't select it or anything. So how is this useful? Let's go back to this master page and delete that. Let's say that I want to set up some guides. So let's say I put some guides here, so that anytime I use that master page, those guides will appear, right? However, if I just click on one of these pages and let's say add some more guides, then that will only appear on that page. So if I want them to appear on all the different pages I make, I'd start there. So if you're doing a project, let's say you're creating a postcard, I would create first a template as a master page. And when you, like I did before, when you create a new document, it'll automatically create one, but you can always add more. So you can make a new master page and add different things to it. When you start using grids, this is another very useful thing. So let's get rid of these. Again, I'm clicked on master page, and I can go to layout, create guides. Let's say I want to create a grid for myself here. So let's do 6 rows and 3 columns. And I'll fit guides to page. Margins if you have margins set, which we don't right now. So I just hit OK. So now it creates that nice grid for me. So now anytime I create a new page based off a master page, it will use those guides. This is helpful. So let's say, let's delete these here. Let's say that you want to, we need to keep one in there. So let's just go to document setup. This is what I'm going to do now, is what's pretty common in terms of when you're creating an identity package for a business, meaning business cards, letterhead, whatnot. So if I just make this a letter size and hit OK. So now all my pages, you know what, let's clear these guides. So now my master page is 8.5 by 11. So now let's say I make a new master and I call this one let's call it the postcard again. Hit OK. Oops. Postcard A. So then on this master page, I'm going to double click on it and just kind of draw out. So it's, let's see, it's 7. So I'm making this postcard 5 by 7. So it's 8.5. So 1 3/4. Another way, since I don't want to take the time to do subtraction, you can always see how the 0 starts in this right upper left hand corner. If I grab these crosshairs from up here, click and drag, I can set that anywhere. So I'm going to click 0 there on that corner so I can easily measure 1 3/4. So now, actually, let's move this down to 2. So now I have a nice guide for whenever I create a postcard. So I can drag this to my pages and I can start making different versions of a postcard. I'll just throw some colors in so you can see the difference. And then let's go back to pages, create another postcard. Did I screw it up again? There it is. Alright, there. So now I'll just make another one so you can see. So there. And then like, let's say you're doing a business card. Let's make a new master. Let's call this business card A. Okay. So you want to do front and back. So let's do, I think it's 3.5 by 2. So then I can just create the guides here. You want to probably center them a little bit more than I did. Let's put this back here. So, and then now you can click back and forth, and now you can use those business cards. Let's just create some quick blocks here. Swatches. So that's basically it. That's how you're going to use master pages to kind of set up your different documents in InDesign. As you can see, it just has a lot more options when you're creating, especially a large number of pages. So when you're doing annual reports or you know, applying a corporate identity to, you know, any other document, InDesign is where you need to go.